Ojwang, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
Good to see you.
I'm glad to be here.
Are you sure you're glad?
And to be seen, yes.
Or you're just, are you sure you're very glad or just glad?
Very, very glad.
Okay.
I'm very appreciative that I'm very well. There was rumors going around that I got the tender to supply the BBI kits for the referendum.
Unfortunately, they were not rumors.
Disabuse the strongest term possible.
You leave no stone unturned to find out who's spread the rumors.
Right.
You leave no turn and stone.
And I will deal with you cacophoniously once I find you.
Vipi lakini?
Niko sawa.
Tuambie mambo ya Amerika. Unajua wewe ndio uko na makazini peke yake huko, sisi wengine kama kazini walioisia ako tupo si hapo.
Hai wangu akoshimala vandu village.
Labda tu atuambie ile kitu anaweza tuambie ni ile kitu inaendelea kwa Uganda.
But remember, we talked to your peeps who are in South Bend, Indiana. What is going on in America is actually, Trump was able to get in his nominee to the Supreme Court. And so if you look at the Supreme Court composition, there is those who feel it is liberal. One of the issues they think those people might change, though they have said they are not interested, is to reverse the abortion gain, whether that's a real gain, but apparently it is. They are going to reverse Lawrence versus Texas, which was probably saying that no state can come with law that undermine sexual contact among the same gender. Griswold versus Pennsylvania. The case that is saying access to birth control. Nobody should ask you, what are you going to do with this birth control, whether you are married or whether you are a minor. So it extended birth control to minor. So Biden has said, you know what, once we win, we are going to change the act that composed the Supreme Court so that we can pack it with the liberals. And you see that has also thrown another spin, because now he's telling Democrats we must win not just presidency, but as much Congress or equal to the National Assembly as possible, so that we will be able to do meaningful amendment and to undo what Trump has done. The politics is going well. In my view, the American politics is the most silly politics. Because the so-called issue-based is foolishness. Somebody can decide to vote for a candidate because of right to a gun, to own a gun, or because of same-sex right. Yet it's only 2% of the American population.
So 2% of population
of the American population?
Yes.
Yeah, it is, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
it is a population of people, and
of
they
2%.
have their issues.
Yeah. So how that issue become the 98% of the issues?
It's a story of another day.
And then, I try to be a Democrat there because that's the leaning of almost every black, every African. But I was looking at how silly the platform is. That because of Hollywood and because of the rich and the money, the Democrat platform and agenda is packed.
Those are the leftists.
I'm left-handed anyway, so I don't know. It is packed with the agenda of the very minority. And then one of the things that probably I abhorred is this same-sex issue being analogized to black or African discrimination. So that somebody is saying, this country has been ruled by heterosexual white male. So if you are not heterosexual, if you are not white, if you are not male, then that group now is supposed to carry people like Ojwang, anybody who is racial diversity, women, and LGBT and queer. So it becomes a very big group. The other side, it's simply gun. Of course, there is more issue to that. They don't like abortion, right to free abortion. We have seen states that are now authorizing abortion up to the third trimester. The third trimester is the baby can now be viable on their own if they are given birth. And so, state like Georgia and whatever were coming with laws saying, no, you cannot do abortion then at that late stage, even though you are right, because now the right of the state to protect life of even that fetus becomes stronger when they are viable at the third trimester. And so you cannot give birth to them and then kill them, for example. So I remember my conversation with somebody who we were doing medial jobs, and I was asking him, so which way are you going to vote? And he's like, Republican, of course. Why? He told me, because the Democrats want to take from the rich. So I asked him, are you rich? It's like, no, but it's not fair. True story. We are doing $7 an hour job in a small McDonald's then, packing burgers and whatever. And he's worried about the rich, that the Democrats want to tax the rich. Now you have seen, finally, you have seen blacks that are celebrities moving now towards Trump. Kanye West want to run for presidency. I think it's a joke. He's running, actually. I hear his ballot is in a third of the state, so not everywhere. But people like some of the celebrity afraid of being taxed higher, because Democrats are promising to tax the rich higher, have now moved to Trump. And so final word of warning is lower your expectation as you watch American election. I know that because the media, and I agree with Trump to that extent, the media is too liberal and is sending this narrative that only an idiot can vote for Trump. It has never worked. Even before, when Hillary was saying, you know, oh, yeah, women didn't vote for me because their husband told them not to. No, give women more credit than that. They vote on issues also just like anybody else, not just because we are the same gender. So there is a hype that, oh, no, it is all done, Trump is out. That is the same thing last time. And yet, when it came to the real election, people were shocked when Trump actually won the delegates. So it is not all lost, it's not all gone, and I urge you as an African who is listening, look at those parties and look at whose foreign policy are in the interest of Africa, who is giving us more foreign exchange, who is giving us more grants, who is opening our trade, who is interfering with our independence, who is whatever, so that you don't just go with the whatever Republican Democrat dichotomy without thinking of our interest as Africans and Kenyans. Thank you.
What is a dichotomy, first of all?
You did biology, right?
We looked at biology. We went through biology.
We went through biology.
Dichotomous key.
Yeah, the dichotomous key, that's what I'm thinking. So you put it's either this side or this side, the straight jacketing.
But then, Professor, you're not speaking. Are you conversant with the Lincoln Project?
Which one? Lincoln had a lot of projects.
No, the recent one. It's a group of Republicans who don't want Trump to be president for a second term. So they're calling themselves the Lincoln Project. And
because Lincoln is the father of the party.
Possible. Yeah, they're doing everything possible for Trump not to be president. And they're Republicans.
What else is possible apart from not voting him?
I don't know.
No, but so what are they promising?
That Trump is not going back to the White House.
If I look at my Facebook, all my friends, Sumi, who is a doctor who are in medical school, is saying, this is not about political opinion. If you vote for Trump, you hate me as an Indian, don't talk to me. So I'm seeing very strong, and a lot of my friends, by the way. So I'm seeing it is life and death, and there are people who have already bought a ticket. If Trump win, I'm out of America. I'm either going to Canada or to wherever. It is serious. And the fear then is that whichever side win, because Trump has also raised reasonable doubt and said those, with the COVID now, the voters are mailed. And he has said, how about the integrity of these votes? Do we really know what it means? So he's setting a ground for parallel swearing. He's also setting a ground to reject the results. So it is.
Has he been speaking to Baba?
So no, but Baba's moved beyond parallel swearing. So he has not, because he's on the...
Why does Trump seem to be reading from his notes?
His own note, or whose note?
Baba's notes.
Okay, it might be. But so then you are talking of Republicans. There are Republicans who have also come out to say, you know what? Yes, you are right, that the demeanor of Trump, the personification of Trump, is detrimental, and it has lowered the reputation of America. He has not even moved as a Republican. He has worsened the party, isn't it? But you see, when they look at Trump-run policy, Trump supported Hillary and donated money to Hillary when Hillary was running against McCain. So Trump is very smart. He knew that I need to hijack Republican Party and use it, but his politics and his money, because he's also rich, has always been pro-Democrat. He has been sponsoring Democrat. But of late, he just came and kind of changed his platform so that he get those Republicans. Now, the people that probably people need to worry about are not so much Republican or Democrat. It is known California will be Democrat, whichever way. The people that people look for when they determine the race are states that can go either way. Wisconsin, Ohio, Michigan. Not only that, there are people who register themselves as independent. And when they say they are independent, America is true independent. You know, in Kenya, there's nothing like independent. Even in analysis, people have sides and leanings. So those independents are also moving more towards Biden. But you see, it was last week that the emails about Biden, San corruption deals with foreign country resurfaced, and FBI are actually investigating that. And he met Biden when Biden was deputy president. The reason I'm saying that issues become too important, you might not like Trump as a person. And I remember what Ben Carson was telling Christians, that, you know, God works with strange people. Trump might not be the best person, but look, he's articulating less abortion. So if you're a Christian and you want less abortion, you find it this side. He's articulating less homosexuality. He's articulating all these other issues that American campaign and war has been cultural war. So you find yourself that you have no choice. Now, Biden has threatened to open the Supreme Court, add more numbers, and bring liberal judges. So even if you didn't like Trump as a Republican,
you still have to vote for him.
You are saying, no, my issues are here. Yes.
All right. Let me just read a few comments on the same issue. Watu ambao wameenda ngambo, sisi hatujaenda sana. Ile ngambo tulienda ni kuvuka mto. Lucia, Mike tunasema Ojwang, what we are doing now is protest vote. Trump is possibly a one-term president. Immigration and health care will cost him. This pandemic will cost him. Kipkembanga anasema many people are already coming to Canada. Whichever candidate wins, America is messed up. Sande Bedero na meamusha Chepkwech na B. David. Kipchumba kwa anasema the Lincoln project is the most amazing project in the recent times. They are running advertisements all through the country. Mike Tony anasema as we speak, Texas is neck to neck. Mike anasema Ojwang, usiseme Biden, sema Biden. Texas is a battleground state. We are macho sana. Charles anasema mambo sa good stuff. Well done, general team. Happy to see mwalimu Dr. General Ojwang. He told me law, a fine gentleman. Jackie anasema proud of you, Gerald. Go tell Lucia what I'm saying. Yeah, you like that gentleman.
Underline the word gentleman.
Okay, underlined. Jerry Kino mamusha masi cheptab ara maritim na Kibrodi Koromicha Levinje. Hey, Kibrodi Koromicha mtu wa Nakuru umetutupa sana. Jose K. Rope anasema good morning. The ranking is scam. You are the governor for Meru saying the company was asking for 3 million to give them a better ranking. You pay more, you are better ranked. Anyway, wow. Lakini kazi zinaonekana. Watu kama unajua you cannot fake. Yeah, you cannot. Someone said Oparanya has been working. Yeah. Keep it apart. Yes. Yeah. When you pass through that, unajua kuna mtu alisema jana development is not like an orgasm, you cannot fake it. Anyway, yo mimi sijasema I have not said that. Anyway, in other news, it will cost you 14 billion to run a referendum. That is what the IBC is saying. Lucia, we have 14 billion situtumie ku wave mambo help kuliko tuende referendum kuongea na upuzi bado.
Ile loan tumepewa na Macron juzi ni pesa ngapi?
180 billion lakini nasikia ilikosekana kitoka haikufika.
Haikufika. Si pengine hiyo ndio ilikuwa imeenda kutafutwa ikuje kuketa for referendum. I think we have misplaced priorities. If in the midst of a pandemic we are in a health crisis, we are looking at a possible second wave of the COVID pandemic. The country is just in shambles. Public sector is weakened. Doctors are not being paid. I don't know if teachers are going to be paid now that they're back in school.
Chicken are not laying eggs.
Hiyo ni yako. Za mamangu zinataga mayai. Za kwetu zinataga mayai. Sijui za kwenyu ziko na shida gani. But then to start talking of a referendum in the midst of the current situation that we are in as a country, it shows how misplaced our priorities are. The first thing, you'd think as president will be to cushion your people, from hunger, from this crisis. But then our political elite are just focused on creating more spaces for themselves. It's like mtoto wako akuja kulilia kuambia nasikia njaa, and you're like nataka kuleta bibi mwingine ndio ukue na mama wawili na the baby is hungry, it's not going to make sense to the
so labda anataka ndio bibi wawili kila mtu apike
yake. So lakini sasa hiyo process itachukua how long na njaa inasikika sahi. By the time you manage to marry that second wife and she comes to cook for the baby, maybe the baby might have died of hunger.
Shida inaweza kuwa labda jamaa tayari kwa na pipi tu kwa kona na kuacha.
Gerald, there's a sense of urgency that we need to have. Kama sio sasa ni sasa hivi. We don't have to wait for tomorrow, for 2022. What are we really waiting for? It beats me. And where is that 14 billion coming from? Ilikuwa imekuwa mahali kando ama ni loan inaombwa? We have to know where is this finances coming from. Are they being now? Shida ilikuwa IEBC, we need to reform IEBC sijui nini. Who is going to run that referendum if it happens? Isn't it the same IEBC? How comes we will not trust IEBC for our general elections, but we will trust IEBC for the referendum? It just doesn't make sense. There's a lot of things that have to be put in place structurally before we can even start talking about a referendum budget. We are still missing commissioners in IEBC.
As we speak, by the way, it has already costed us 10 billion kuweza kukutanisha mambo ya IBC. It has already costed us 10 billion.
Yeah, IBC ama BBI.
Mambo ya BBI.
Yeah, yeah. And actually it's more than 10 billion. 10 billion is what we are told. 14 billion is what has been spent.
14 billion.
Yeah. So another 14 billion again on what? Another 14 billion just to create the position of prime minister and his deputies. 14 billion just for that. Because every other thing in the BBI report does not require a referendum. Nothing else requires a referendum in this BBI report. So they might as well as tell us why they're not implementing these things without the BBI report. And then watuambie tunataka BBI for one reason. And this is the only reason we want the BBI report. To expand the executive. Because clearly it is the only reason why.
All right. Ojwang, what do you think about this? What are your thoughts?
Is there a price not worth paying for peace?
Now you become a philosopher.
Daktari, I'm about to tackle you if you continue on that road. I'm about to tackle you if you continue on that road.
I mean, how much is peace worth?
Keep going.
10 million?
Keep going.
20 billion?
No, keep
50
going.
billion? It is about the peace of this nation. Bringing brothers and sisters together who are worrying.
You need 14 billion, 24 billion to do that.
To do referendum. Yeah, because you need the people to own the process. And I don't know.
Ojwang, are you fighting with your neighbor? Are you fighting with your neighbor?
Let him finish first. He'll tell us what is going on with this.
Right.
Let him give us his mind.
Let us address each other through the convener. Let us stop cross-chatting.
No,
They're just looking through my glass and
you're asking for the
questions.
price of peace as if we are at war. We are not at war. We are at peace. No one is
Let him
fighting.
express himself. You never know.
I'm not fighting,
Maybe.
Agatha.
We are fighting
We
right
are not
now.
fighting, Gerald. No, we are
The very
having...
proof that we need
We are
the
having
BBI.
a
We need
discussion. No, I'm trying to call out your bullshit right now. We are not fighting.
All right, Ojwang, proceed.
I don't know what should be our true roles as Kenyans. Because for sure, they are going to spend that money and they are going for referendum. It is decided.
Whether you like it or not.
Yes. So then we probably need to think of how to move our roles from maybe just complaining, because otherwise we'll be coming and saying, oh my goodness, oh shame, oh terrible, oh no, not again. And then we drink your water and go home, because that's what I'm seeing, which is going to, that's how this script is unfolding. They will be doing it. We will be here coming with all the correct emoji and words to express disgust as they are doing it, because they're not planning to stop. They are going to do it. So probably for me it will be more or else what should we do with the process if they decide to go on with it. Should it be time for everybody who wanted something amended to jump on board?
To bring it in. Okay.
Yeah, but one of the challenges I have, and I know it's probably coming to court very soon, is that the government looks like they are, it's that grown-up who go to a restaurant and is trying to order from the kids menu. Is ordering kids menu because it is cheaper. There is no way you can mix public initiative or popular initiative with the process of the state. The state is using money. Their path is not going to collect signatures again. And that is going to be tested in court. That path is meant for people like Aukot, who don't have majority in parliament and who don't spend state money. The state should not stray from the parliamentary route. They should take it to parliament, and they should spare going to the popular initiative like the counties and whatever. But because they want this thing to be generally people driven at this point, it looks like they are going to take that. And I'm saying I don't think there's anything we are going to do that is going to change that process. IBC have just called them to the reality, and have given us that figure so that we can see we can be more mad. But the die is cast. They are going to go that route. According to them, the referendum, which maybe is disputable, whether it meets what it's promising, like bringing Kenyans together. By the way, maybe is there, because if you look at their argument, we lose a lot of money. 3 years to election, or 2 years, 2 years after election. We have generally in this country 5 major communities that fight, or that are the most populous. If these people can be accommodated, that is the argument. And we have to give them their best argument, even as we dismantle it. So their best argument is these 5 communities, if they can be accommodated within the executive, or as Prime Minister, as Deputy President, as Deputy Prime Minister, then Kenya might see peace. The concern I have is sustainability, and that is what Ayiela is also pointing out, that the Constitution, Article 10B, also talk of as a principle that we must do things in sustainability. And sustainability is about the prudence of cost. Does it make sense to use 10 billion at this time?
All right, let's speak mind on from Americans on the issues of America. Kwamba watu wa America wanataka kuchangia kutuambia nini endelea America. Good morning. Or is it good evening back then in America?
Good night.
Yeah, good morning. It's evening here. It's 4 p.m.
Oh, it's a 4 p.m.
My name is Kipchumba Kibwambo.
Kibombo, wow.
Tuambie mambo
Yes,
ya
so
Trumpland.
Yes, I wanted to contribute earlier on Trump, but it looks like your basi ishaondoka.
No,
why?
tuambie,
I thought
tuambie.
maybe-
It's still there.
Okay. All right. Well, when it comes to Trump, right, a lot of people actually are writing this guy off. Now, the problem with that is what made him win last time? Those things have not shifted. In fact, those things are actually now more concerted. For example, racial tensions with the killing of, African Americans in the hands of police. You've seen, BLM, Black Lives Matter protesters coming to the streets. Now you see the counter protesters coming, and who is supporting them? They are the so-called silent majority. Silent majority are the white men who think that anyone that's not white should not be part and parcel of their community. That's still intact. The older Americans are still there, and they will vote always Republican. So it looks like the only people that would be, in fact, have always been voting for Democrats would be college graduates. Now, what has Joe Biden done to, convince these other people, especially college graduates? Even if college graduates vote for Joe Biden, Trump won majority of college, or those who did not attend or graduate from college. And those people are still the majority in America. So let's not kid ourselves. Trump might win. The only thing that Trump might lose is if the older generation of Americans leave the party because of the pandemic. Now, you've seen, even when Trump got sick, people are still actually cheering him on. They're still coming out in numbers without masks. So those people actually are like a cult. They are just following this messiah, quote unquote, kind of a man. So that's my contribution when it comes to American election. Now, let's turn to the Kenyan, the so-called BBI.
I like how he breaks it down. Now.
You could never do
let's
it.
let's talk building bridges. Now, I think we could more bridges, but I'm not gonna take sides, but I will try to be objective on this one. Number one, if you're telling us there will not be any peace in Kenya just because someone doesn't accept defeat, what are we saying? Are we ready to be actually the counted among the countries that are democratic? Your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah.
So if you cannot accept defeat, or if you think the definition of democracy and real democracy is by having 5 other men in the leadership position who can be disposed by the president, then I don't think what you're telling me, actually, I don't think the definition of democracy fits into that. So the other thing is, I would appeal to many Kenyans not to pass this BBI thing the way it is. Simply because, for me, I'm worried about the wage bill. Look, if you are admitting other 5 men, because I don't see them talking about ladies, right? So I'm not going to talk about that because I don't think they care much about women. So if you're talking of these men and their deputies, that's almost 10 men already who are lining up. If they win 2 consecutive elections, that's 10 years. After they retire, like any other president and the prime minister, Kenyan people will have to support their lives for the next 20, 30, 40 years. Same for the governors. People in Kenya doesn't understand that governors who have gone for 2 terms are still being supported by the Kenyan community through their taxes. They have the security, they have the mortgage, they have all these payments. So I don't think it's sustainable, and every Kenyan who cares about a country should reject this on that basis alone. Thank you, Buenabitok.
Wow, thank you so much. That's very powerful. Thank you so much for joining in all the way from America. Now,
I'm in Australia.
Australia.
Sydney, Australia.
All right, in Australia.
Yes,
now,
thank you.
I want to wish you a very good evening.
Thank you, Bwana.
Thank you so much, my brother. Take care. Thank you so much for joining in. That was quite some sentiment from someone who understands global politics.
Closer to what we were saying.
Yes,
isn't it?
yeah, that's what you were saying.
The sustainability on this, and the issue of you know what has happened also. The Americans and even in Britain, they have learned to hide their racism better. So even the poll does not capture it. Usually those countries have very accurate polls that show, but there is less polling on that population. When you ask them, are you going to vote for Trump? Oh no, that's racist. But wait until he gets to the booth. He knows what he's going to do. But let CNN find him out there. What do you think about? No, he's racist. That is what happened also with the Brexit. With the Brexit, the poll could not capture the real thing. People, oh no, we are not going to pull from EU. That's racist. Because the EU, the argument of Britain was, oh, it's going to bring all those Scandinavian, all those people we don't want here. But when they got to the poll, remember it's secret ballot? They voted what they wanted. So the polls also don't even capture the whole essence of what is going on. And I like his comment about the issue of sustainability. But you see, Abitok, and maybe you guys can help me. Do we have to have a very liberal version of democracy? Okay, because every country have unique election, and the election are controlled by their laws. So there is no UN model election, though we have principles, like you can talk of one man, one vote, fairness, and whatever, but each country's election is governed by their own internal laws. So do we have one size fit all for democracy? So that it's in the US where Trump lost popular vote but became the president because of the delegates, isn't it? Why is that democratic? Is that universal suffrage and equality of vote? No. Why was that? Because that was the consensus. Some states like California are so big that if you really go with one man, one vote, and one woman, it will, people like Ohio and small states will never have their say in the US. So they came with a way where actually votes are diluted in other places, like California, and they are actually increased in other places. So you have delegates not based exactly on population, but fairness. So that at the end of the day, we have Trump who lost popular vote, but won with the Electoral college. That is their unique fit there. Africans compete with consensus. So now BBI is trying to fit for us this unique cloth of ours in terms of democracy. So I don't think we have a textbook definition of democracy where you can say if it is this way, it's not democracy. But still, I agree with this point that the issue of sustainability is a serious issue.
All right. Let me just read a few comments on the same as well, then we roll it on. That is Sandra Belen is saying America needs a new CEO. I want to see MW. I just finished reading The Room where it happened, and man, he was it enlightening about the Donald. He will be voted in not because he brings much to the substantive table, but because of his far rightism and capitalism on religious life, worldview on the controversial issues of LGBTQ and the right to life, abortion or not. Jonathan Kwanchela and watching from Busia, thank you. Batinge Mwangi anasema morning to you. Grace Bosa morning to class. All right, asante sana. Mambo ya BBI anasema it's BS. Look for BBI in the rubbish bin, as someone said. No one needs it. Justo anasema good morning to class, Ojwang-Dean, Sports City Dubai. But then we are running a poll. There's a lot that's running on the video whether you can afford BBI or someone's going to be 14 billion. And we're asking you, can you afford a referendum? BBI referendum to cost you 14 billion. Can you afford it? There's a poll that's running on the video. Ukiona pop up ya poll hapo, piga kura yako. Naona Kevin Kamisa anasema morning great team following the insightful conversation. Ibrahim Kevio anasema morning Gerald, say hi to everyone. When I the BBI highlights nothing there, needs a referendum. and tackle the daktari. What peace? Is peace only the absence of war? Makwana ina senior citizens zama team tackle team from CBD. Naona chapter maritema sama chati kundi majalewa kidogo. Steven Musha anasema morning Lucia Ayiela anasema cross chatting is tweetable. Cross chatting is tweetable. Naona Dr. Ojwang, please, what peace? Please don't add our sensibilities. Ibrahim Kwanasama, surely, Ojwang, if somebody is not ready to accept defeat, then this country will never be at peace. And Dereva Kamanja Anasama joined from Menju. When the BBI is BS, honestly, a distraction. They know Kenyans are gullible beyond repair. Civic education just does not go far enough. You try and they break your door at night with trumped up charges. Quite sad. It is BBI is a necessary burden to the Kenyan people. David Kenya it's not 4 p.m. it's 4 a.m. Podeni sana sisi ni watu watujui wali clock. Ibrahim Kenya sama Ole Katiana Ibrahim watching from Kajiado. Asante watu Kajiado. I'm just looking for comments on the issue. Anaona Masi anasema chati kitu tulikuwa ndani. Asante sana. David Kenya sama the US president has another chance but the dynamic is not the same as 2016. That said, Joe Biden does not have the same weakness that Hillary Clinton had. He is completing in these late stages of the campaign aggressively in the battleground states of Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan. A win for Biden in these states will be a very long night for the president. And I'm saying, generally, we are not ready for competitive multi-party politics. Why can't we go the Chinese way? And I think that actually the president could be borrowing the leaf from the Chinese. I say, why can't we go the Chinese Communist Party is all inclusive? Why can't we go back to one party system because that is the mindset of those who preach inclusion? Well, we could decide and go back there. Arafat Asama, good morning. Martin Gonesama, BBI is the most selfish thing by these politicians. All right, still on BBI. IBC as brought in their dissatisfaction, and actually they have their own parallel proposal on reforms, and they are saying no. And some BBI tawi IBC led by Jebukati wamesema kwamba hawako ndani ya BBI na wameanza kuleta reforms zao on the side. I don't know what you think about that, Lucy.
Again, inclusivity. Huyo mtu mwenye amesema we need to go back to multipartism. Ndugu, kwani we ni fossil?
His argument is the people who are selling this thing of inclusivity are saying that we need to be put in one basket.
Inclusivity does not mean one basket, Gerald. Inclusivity does not mean one basket. It's quality over quantity. And here's my problem with everything that's being said. Inclusivity means you have an issue, she has one, I have one, he has another one. It does not mean all of them have to be together. It means we find common ground where we can learn to appreciate and complement each other. It doesn't mean having one way that is just, we've decided this is the way that we have to go. No, inclusivity is not rigid. That's the thing that people need to understand. Now, when you hear multiple groups coming and saying, oh, this was not done, makes you wonder, when the task force was collecting views, whose views were they collecting? That's the one question I have. Because those of us who took our views cannot find our views in this document. And that is why all these splinter groups are coming up. And that is the problem when you have a top to bottom approach in matters that concern the citizens. If this thing had come from the people, if the people were to talk to their MCAs and then the MCAs relay this to the MPs who then take it to parliament and senators and they sit down and they talk about it and then it goes up like that, it would have made much more sense. I don't think we'll be having splinter groups of Pwani si Kenya saying, oh, this we said and this was not included. The IEBC is being targeted or the judiciary this and that. No, nobody will be feeling bad because legit it would have come from the people through the representatives that the people chose. But then two people stood, shook hands and decided, okay, fine, we are giving you a task force. You have no say in who is going to be on that task force. We are just shoving it down your throat. You have to accept it because we sat down and took tea and some other things and we decided. And you see, it's not inclusive.
And maybe we can critique method and then outcome. It's not two people. It's not two people. It is two leaders. We can still say we have more leaders that needed to have been included. But I mean, there are leaders who also mightily represent some constituency. Though I'm concerned that they didn't include all the major leaders. And you are right that I've been also looking at where is the pathway leading to this bridge, and I'm missing it. So it is a bridge, but you know you need a pathway to get to the bridge. And when you look at the document, you don't see the pathway to that bridge. But you see the two people in the bridge. They're telling you, come to the bridge. So if you know how to swim, you can get to the river and swim to that bridge. But if you
have to find a way.
Right, but there's no pathway leading to the bridge. And that is the challenge. I think that it is, in my view, the president have not earned a right to amend the constitution because he has not been the biggest friend of the constitution. And so even if so that is a fundamental issue. So then why are they rushing to amend it now? My reading is the president is realizing that so that for the next 20 years nobody talk of reform, I might as well lead this when I'm in the presidency. Then I can control it. When I'm in the room and when I have the executive, I can. So it's actually hijacking the real constitutional moment. You want to induce labor before the time because you want your wife to give birth before you go back to Australia or whatever. So you're saying
give birth very fast. I need to go.
It is 2 months, but let's go do C-section and then mutilate this whatever and have a natural birth. I think is afraid of the reform which could happen when he's not there, because that reform will include the issue of land. That reform will include real talk and not happiness index. I don't know. You have seen the demand for the citizens. Almost, I think they borrowed that from the Chinese party. Every citizen responsibility, and you know that's how dictatorship starts. So that they say you are not playing your responsibility, because we who talk of human right, we believe human right is earned by the sheer factor that you are a human. You don't need to do anything to have human right. But when you are now putting responsibility, which could be okay in some context, because that's what the Banjul Chat have done. So I'm thinking that this all reform is challenging, because the president realized if I don't manage this process, this process will manage me, and it will cost me when I'm not there. Because nobody will talk again of constitutional amendment and referendum 5 years immediately if we do a referendum. So that will buy me more time. So this is the time to do it, so that when I can still control things. On the other side, I think the prime minister, former prime minister, who is a reformer, is also more concerned about his political interest. And so he's saying, you know, okay, it's not the best that I will have wished, but for the sake of us working together and the lingering promise of you supporting me, the more the politician denies not about 2022 is the more you know it's only about 2022. So then he decides, you know what, I mean, why will you bring Mama Pendo to talk about security reform as you are launching BBI that is now headed by a cabinet who is going to be a member of parliament and a politician? I mean, this is dancing at the grave of innocent Kenyans. So we are clawing back on the independence of security arms. Security has been a right under the Constitution. All people have been demanding is stop the political interference with the security arm so that they remain independent and neutral to serve Kenyans. Now you take it and you are saying it is going to be headed by minister. And who is the boss of the minister? The president. In other words, you are now saying even to pretend the security is going to be directly managed by the executive. And then you relate the story of Baby Pendo, who was killed because of politics and by politicians and the security that is mismanaged, and you call them for that launching. It takes a lot of guts to do that, and that is the challenge.
So what do you actually think about what the IBC is raising, the issue that they're raising, and they're saying that they are disagreeing with the constitutional amendments?
Yeah, and no sooner did they raise that issue, no sooner were they found to be infected by corona. Have you seen the breaking news? Everybody there is sick. It might be the fevers talking.
So
we don't know that. We don't know whether they are well. Let us wait. Let us pray for IBC in this time. This is not time for them to be in the press. This is time for them to be quarantined and nurse their corona maladies. Because if you look at, and I'm reading this from the newspaper right now, if you look at the Star, you can see that IBC, the breaking news is that IBC is majority have got 2 dead, 12 critical as COVID-19 ravages IBC. So do you want to listen to somebody who is ravaged by COVID? So anyway, but they have always been coming out and they are almost a rain in the parade, obviously, because they are saying things that we don't want to be said at this point. They're bringing our attention to the issue of sustainability. They're saying this thing will cost how many billions?
14 billion.
14 billion.
And the 2022 election just around the corner is going to cost us 50 billion.
And it's like an accident scene. You know, in an accident scene, you don't want to watch, but something is telling you, look one more time. Because you know it's going to happen, but it's painful.
All right, let's see. What are your comments?
On the IEBC issue and funding, if IEBC wamesema tuna require 14 billion, okay, I'm likely to believe them. I don't know if IEBC is to be believed anyways. The problem has been that elections have not been fair and transparent, yes? So when I give you a bucket na iko na shimo hapo chini, the first thing you'd want to do is to cover the hole, yeah? Before you buy a new bucket, you'd want to cover the hole just so it can retain water. So if the problem is lack of free and fair elections, why aren't we sorting out the root cause of the problem? Why has it now become an issue of expanding the executive? If we went to the ballot, you and I, Gerald, and you saw how the votes were transmitted, how they were counted, and you lose, are you likely to deny that you've lost?
You lose fairly.
Yes, when you lose exactly. The problem here is not expanding an executive. The problem is not kupanguza the loser machozi by creating an office of the opposition, though it has its own importance. I'm not saying we shouldn't create an office of the opposition.
Dignifying the office.
It's important to, given the context of our politics in this country and the reality on the ground, it's important to have that office. But then isn't it more important to cover the loopholes that make our elections to be opaque and unfair? Isn't it the logic? Ama mi ndio mjinga hapa. Because if I was to be asked, I would say, let's focus on making sure that our election infrastructure is transparent, so that when the elections come around, the elections can be transparent and fair also. Because then if I can see that I have lost, and I can clearly see that it was a fair process and I've lost fairly, there is no reason for me to go out there and start galvanizing people to fight because I have lost an election. No, I will have seen it. I have lost it. I'm not mad unless I'm just a greedy, selfish, stupid person that does not like this country. Then I'll do that.
But let me ask you.
But then when everyone even sees in a fair manner that Ojwang has lost,
we'll never
kutuambia hapa tukuje kupigana, we won't fight because we've seen it was a fair loss. The problem here is the election infrastructure, not the governance structure.
And you know,
not the governance structure at all. We shouldn't even touch that.
Let me help my younger sister. And I'm more or else, because she does better job articulating why not BBI, that I'm playing the advocate for the sake of balance and so that it's an informed discussion. This is what BBI articulates. Rather than have these politicians, the five major community, or and the politician, the loser, rather than having them fight in the street, let us move this war to parliament. We'll rather have them having heart attack debating in parliament, because it's a controlled experiment and environment, than in the street. That is number one. So whether they have succeeded in doing that or not, that could be another issue. Whether BBI have achieved that. But the whole idea is that, you know what, you'll rather have these big communities, these sides. If they are not in parliament to articulate that, they will be spilling it to the streets. We'll have tear gas Monday, we'll have tear gas Tuesday, but if you bring them to parliament, they will articulate it in parliament. But secondly, the issue of inclusivity. I'm thinking this way. I don't think BBI has done what it is promising to do. And that is my bone of contention with that's where I differ with Lucia. She's saying it is not fair. If people have lost, they will go home and wait for 5 years.
No, it's fair.
She's saying, you are saying it is fair.
Yes.
This is why I'm saying that is not fair, Aurakiwa. And I don't think BBI has even done that, what it is promising. Is it fair to tell 48% of Kenyans, which is what DP used to bring this debate in Bomas? And you know, just because you don't like somebody does not mean that you cannot agree with the argument. DP said, if we go with this BBI, then Jubilee can take all those seats. How is that? Inclusivity.
Yeah.
And so I think they failed to deliver. BBI failed to deliver that, what they promised. And I have a suggestion in how that can be delivered. But whether that attempt is worth it, again, I don't think it's worth it, they failed. But whether that discussion makes sense, this is what I think. Now, you tell 48% of Kenyans, Bitok, we have done this election, it's a divisive election, we are mobilized around tribes. Let nobody lie to you that there are issues. I saw one Trump supporter who had a sticker saying, I've already made up my mind. Don't confuse me with facts. Facts is what we say to support what we want anyway. So yeah, there might be 3%, the Lucia and those who want to think of issues. But the majority of Kenyans vote according to tribe and regional interest. The tagline, it's our turn to eat. Every claim you find from Jubilee has been, how come we voted for this government and we are not eating a lot? How come those other people are eating more than us? So there is that expectation. So the argument of BBI then is this. It is not practical to tell the NASA brigade that, which was, even according to ABC account, about 46% of Kenyans. it is nice. It was a competition. Let's meet after 5 years.
It was a pleasure having you.
It was pleasure having you. Let's meet after 5 years. Meanwhile, they don't have contracts. Jubilee has all the contracts. They don't have positions, commissions, any job. And we know how the ruling party or the government influence those. They cannot hire anything. They don't have money to do their roads. Now you wait for 5 years because you love Kenya. As the president put it the other time, tunakula nyama, wengine wanameza mate. It was then that the analogy. So then you meza your mate for 5 years. As we eat, because we have this thing, we got 2% more than you, and we are this thing called winners. And you, because you had 2% less, you are in this category called losers.
But is that not democracy?
That is not democracy.
What is it?
Because that is not democracy. No, that is not democracy. Because the so-called democracy, even the one we pick from America, we have said our the electoral college work. Every state is independent. In fact, you know, America was built when the state was there already. So the federal government is very small. The cake is shared within the state. If I'm from Texas, I am still eating, whether Obama is up there or Trump. In Kenya, I can barely breathe if we don't get that presidency. Because everything is at the center. Everything is at the center. The idea of devolution was to move things from the center to the people. So that somebody don't come from Turkana and say, how is Kenya, by the way? That was the idea of devolution. The idea of the constitution, which is 50 plus 2. Is that the constitution? 50 plus 2? Why were we demanding 50 plus 2? To make sure that just because you come from a big tribe, you don't just win easily. You need to make a coalition. So we have engineered a lot of things within our constitution already. You need to win, and there's no tribe that you have to have 50 plus 2. How many counties must you win in? To be a president, you must win or at least get 24 counties. Why were we doing that? Because we are saying that democracy of whatever must be guided in this sense that we must make sure that by the time you are winning, you have the consensus of most of who? Kenyans. Now, take that and that analogy. And because that's the problem, that you are telling that 46%, you sit, wait for whichever time come that we will have a fair IBC. Meanwhile, you know you are 1 foot in IBC and you articulate, you control it. And then wait for another competition. Dugu, siasa ni mashindano, leo ni you know those are what winners say. Leo ni mimi, kesho itakuwa ni wewe, and you know my kesho will never come. Meanwhile, you are not talking of Raila. You are talking of the 48%. Are you following my argument?
Yes.
No, it was about Raila. Raila will eat regardless. Every government will like Raila to be their friend. And will like to know what does he want. But the 48% of Kenyans who followed Raila now wait for another 5 years before they see their name in the commissions, before they see their name in serious appointment, before they see any serious project, before they also have their share in scandals and KEMSA for 5 years. That was the articulation that we need to change this politics. And I think it is fair. But I conclude by saying BBI has failed even in that. And that is what the deputy president pointed out. Because massaging the opposition leader, who is ranking number 6 in the country, and even in parliament, after the speaker and majority, there's no majority leader and deputy prime minister. And you're telling him, now I've given you a dignified whatever, here is your Prado, here is your office. Because the reality is that, or she was representing, because the reality is that in Kenya, at every election, we will have a fairly contested election where we have 52 with them putting their finger on the scale because they are in the government, and we will have like 48. So you taking that one individual and calling him opposition leader and ranking him number 4. How does that help that 48%? And that is what BBI has failed. In my own thinking, just the way the president, one foot touches the executive, the other one touches parliament, because he appoints the prime minister. Why don't you let this number 2 be the prime minister? Then now we can surely say this is building bridges. You, as the president, have your deputy. The number 2 is the prime minister, and is organizing the government business.
All right.
Then we have inclusivity. But telling the number 2 to have opposition, and the point I'm making is very fundamental. And you don't look like you are catching it, man.
We are catching it. We are catching it, man. We sorry if you think we are not catching it. We are catching it. All right. We go to the video of the day. We are going to do the video of the day. When you come back, we come and discuss the video of the day. Alafu tukirudi tunaweza kuchukua simu bunge la mwenyekiti, tunaweza kufungua, alafu tuweze kuzungumza. Utuambie unafikiria vipi. All right. Let's look at the first tuanze na video. Acha tuanze na video ya kwanza ya rafiki ya Ojwang. Acha tusikie anasema vipi.
Piga magoti mbele ya laiki ya wananchi, mbele magoti mbele ya laiki ya wananchi, mbele ya Mwenyezi Mungu na mbele ya mabishop, wakililia Mwenyezi Mungu atupatie roadmap. Na Mungu akatupatia roadmap ya 10 ya Uhuru na 10 ya Ruto. Kwa hivyo sisi atubanduki. Tuko hapo, 10 ya Uhuru, 10 ya Ruto itaanza 2022. Hii hata hatuna wasiwasi hata kidogo. Lakini waviwasi wetu, msipige wiper. Kwa sababu wakati ambao huyu mzee alituzungusha kama marinda in 2017, tukarudia repeat election, tulisema tutaweza mtem Raila namna gani? Raila huwezi mtem kwa kumpiga tear gas, amekula ya kutosha. Huwezi mtem kwa kumfunga jela, amefungwa ya kutosha. Hata ameenda Iceland. Huyo mtu we can only tame him psychologically. Na wakati huo tukafikiria na tukasema kama mtoto amekuwa mkorofi, anachelewa kuja shule, na ukimpiga viboko anakausha, hakuna haja kuendelea kupiga yeye viboko. Unampatia responsibility, anakuwa bell ringer, anakuja mapema kupiga kengele. Kama mtoto ni noise maker na anapiga kelele throughout, na ukimpiga kiboko anakausha, hakuna haja kuendelea kuchapa yeye viboko, kwa sababu ni kichwa ngumu. Kama bibi ya lot, unapatia yeye responsibility, anakuwa class monitor, anaandika noise makers, anaambia wengine nyamaseni. Sasa Raila tuliamua ni psychologically tumpatia kwa class monitor, yeye ndiye anaambia wengine nyamazeni, tulieni, ili tutimize the big 4 agenda na tutimize Jubilee manifesto, ambao Uhuru akiwa chief campaigner wa Ruto in 2022 ndiye ataekelea kwa meza, ndio nyinyi wananchi mtuchague na mtupatie kura. Kwa hivyo saa hizi Raila akiwa class monitor, iko shida gani? Wakati ambao tulikuwa tunapandisha VAT ya mafuta, siende aliambia wananchi wanyamaze? Si tulipandisha? Hata wakati huo ambao tulisema the eyes have it, mheshimiwa, unakumbuka Kenya tulikuwa tumefanya? Wakati ambao Zoiban alisema the eyes have it. Unajua what happened is that tulikuwa tunangangana kidogo, na kuna watu walikuwa wanataka kupigana. Sitaki kutaja jina ya mjumbe, na mimi wakati alikimbia upande hii kujaribu kunyang'anya Ndwale microphone, mimi nikaamua wacha nitumie hii crutches, kwa sababu mimi tu peke yangu ndio nakubaliwa kuingia bunge na weapons of mass destruction. So nikaamua kuendesha namna hivi. Na unajua ukiendesha namna hivi ina hit below the belt, ikapitia katikati ya mguu. Sasa jamaa akalia ui. Sasa Soiba akasema the eyes have it. Unajua kusema ile ya kulia iko na sauti kubwa sana. So the eyes have it. Kwa hivyo wananchi kama nyewe mliona labda hatukuwa wengi sana, lakini mtusamee kwa sababu hiyo sauti ilikuwa imetuongeza nguvu kidogo. Kwa hivyo
you guys have seen the videos. First of all, ni ule jamaa wetu Sankok, rafiki ya Lucia na daktari, anasema ya kwamba Raila Odinga amefanywa kitu inaitwa taming psychological. Amesema uwezi funga yeye, amefungwa mpaka akachoka, ameenda mpaka Iceland. Uwezi mpiga tear gas, amekunywa mpaka amezoea. Uwezi fanyia kitu. So amesema aliweza kumfanyia psychological containment, ama psychological, alipewa shughuli ili aweze kujipanga, alipewa kuwa monitor, alafu aweze kupanga watu wengine. I don't know, Lucy, what do you make of that statement? Do you think, when you look at the backdrop of what happened at Bomas, do you think they still, because I was saying also yesterday's newspapers, I was saying that experts say that there was a lot of bromance between the DP and his boss. Do you feel kuna mtu kanachezwa hapa kwa impangilio?
Of course kuna mtu anachezwa. Gerald, is there a point in this country when hakuna mtu anachezwa? At any given point lazima kuna kuanga na mtu anachezwa in this country. I don't know what's going on. This is what my opinion is on what Sankoka said. Hiyo theory yake it can hold water. Hata pia mimi nilikuanga noisemaker pale shule. Ikuongea naongea si kuanza juzi. Nilikuwa noisemaker pale shule, so I was made prefect.
Ikierero ulianza
Kitambo sana bana.
Nikatiba tu huko na.
You know, my mom says in the process of being birthed, when my hand came out, I just started grabbing the nurses. Like I was so eager to get into the world. Ilikuwa like, nivuruteni nitoke. So yoki here ni ya tangu jadi. Anyway, I don't remember which one of our guests told us here. Raila's agenda was
it was a menacing.
To tame Ruto, and Uhuru's agenda was to have a peaceful final term. So at any given point, as we are proceeding on with the different stages of this handshake and BBI report, I think the people who are being played will continue to change according to what the interests of the three are, their different interests, because I'm sure they have totally different interests. The roadmap to getting to their interests might be the same up to a certain level, but at some point, because in the first BBI thing at Bomas walisema ilikuwa tu between Raila na Uhuru, and then so right now it's Uhuru and Ruto. Who knows? Round 3 it's going to be Ruto and Raila. You never know. There's always someone being played. Our political demographic changes a lot. Our political environment changes a lot. People who are enemies today will be friends tomorrow. So tomorrow we might wake up and all of a sudden Raila says,
Ruto tosha.
Ruto tosha, huyu Uhuru ameharibu uchumi, amefanya nini, sideline deputy. Sasa huyu deputy
ile safari yetu kumaliza.
Sasa naona ni kama
sisi ni majirani.
Anatufikisha kana. You see, and then he'll start telling you, you know, even my mother's sister was married to the cousin of the father of the grandfather of Ruto, and his wife's sister is married to the father of the grandfather of the fossil of the ancestor of my cousin, you know, and he will come up with all. So right now it depend na mahali interest. No, but then that is what he does. Okay. He came to Western and told us he's a descendant of Nabongo Mumia.
And by the way, where is Gideon Moy in all these questions?
I'm also a descendant of Nabongo Mumia. Now I'm telling you.
Where is Man Gidi?
Tomorrow Ruto will wake up with Raila, and then Gideon will wake up with Uhuru. Scare Man Gidi na Uhuru. Uhuru. You know, it's they don't. There's no ideologies in this. So they cannot discuss ideologies. So they have to talk about themselves, because if they don't talk about themselves, no one else will. Now, right now, the interest might, because tumepiga kelele, you are building bridges and you cannot even talk to your deputy. That is where the president's interest was. So that Kenyans can see, I am building bridges. Let me go back to, but in the first place hawaja kosana. It's just a show. They are showing us ni cinema tunaonyesha hawaja kosana. I am 100% sure in a week these people sit down together at least twice.
Like, so that was close.
Probably wanakanga na usikuizi aulilika
ujalia vizuri wiki.
Kesho nikikulima lia. You know, so hapa lazima kuna mtu amechezwa, lazima kuna mtu atachezwa. So it's not one constant person who's being played in all of this. It changes. When the interests change, the person being played changes. And
the dynamics change. They say the only constant thing in Kenyan politics is betrayal. Anyway, on the same backdrop, I don't know if you're a good emotional body language reader. If you looked at the way the DP was making his speech at Bomas of Kenya, it it was quite interesting because
took too much liberty.
He didn't look aggrieved.
Right.
He didn't look despite being attacked.
So composed.
Speaker after speaker, he was being attacked. But he came out and he was. It was easy. And yesterday we played a video of Murkomen on the video of today, and Murkomen was saying, guys, you need to be careful. If you continue kutulazimisha hii kitu, lazima mkunywe. Hii kitu mnaingia, mtakuja kulia kesho. The same thing because asema sisi wapumbavu hata naona nasema hii kitu iko nini ni mbaya rekebisha hivi na hivi na hivi, but in the end you might be the people who are going to cry about the new laws. When you look again at that backdrop, look at the way the DP was expressing himself at Bomas of Kenya. What really got my attention was there's a time aliambiwa wakati kulikuwa semekana kwamba kutakuwa na kiti ya opposition, watu wakamwambia ni wewe, it is you, and he was like, oh, is it? And they laughed it off. You know, it keeps you asking yourself a lot of questions like, is there something this guy knows that because if we could flip the roles, let's assume it was Baba being booed. Baba would have come out there dyed black, you know, and they would probably poured out all the emotions that he had. But this guy comes out, laughs around it, and you know, even when he was referring to that guy from Kitale, that guy never mentioned that he's from Kitale, by the way. But the DP said the brilliant guy from Kitale, you know, Matera, this is what he said, you know, and the way he handled it so casually, to an extent that you cannot pin him. The way you are asking questions, you know, the DP is not stupid. He's not a slow learner. Like, he wants to make you believe. Like, I'm a slow learner, you know, you guys explain. But he's playing into your game. Like, okay, you guys, you want us to play this game? All right, let's play it. I'm a slow learner. Explain to me how this and this and this works. I don't know, but I read a lot of emotional... There's a lot that is very telling. When they were leaving, you know, the way they were having that issue with Uhuru. Uhuru hits him. On the podium and he's laughing and he's stamping his feet down, anainua miguu anaangusha, na Uhuru sasa anamlima, anasema anakimbia reverse, amekumbuka anaenda kumwambia unajua nilitolewa namba 9, nikaona acha nikanyage kando kidogo. I don't know, but what do you make of this?
I'm not a good reader of body language, but you know, why flip the cards when you are winning? No, I played cards with those who, when they feel they are going to lose, they flip it, or the board, I mean. Or bang the table. You know, Kenya is a valley of broken dreams. I'm ready for one more big disappointment before 2022.
Just one. You cannot afford two.
I'm ready for one more. I have a room. The heartbreakers, I have allowance for one more. Heartbreak. I think it's coming. You know, and because the interests converge, and the interests also don't go the same direction.
Diverge.
I don't think Raila also went there with his eyes closed. I hope not. I think everybody kind of is using each other. You know how people decide, let's just use each other.
You think I'm using you, but you're also using me.
I'm actually the one
Friends
playing you.
Let's agree to use each other.
Let's use each other. So I don't think at the end of the day, if it was mutual, let's use each other. Anybody should have a reason of complaining. And that is why then it becomes very important that as citizens we remain consistent on justice regardless of who is in power, fairness, democracy, rule of law, and not of the individual. So I saw what happened in Bomas. It was a hijack, a takeover. You are right, the DP came and tossed this missile or hand grenade to the BBI launch. It is like you have planned your day and there's this ex who come and then dance with the bride.
Let me give you a better analogy. Now you get a beautiful girlfriend like Lucia. Then unasema unataka kwenda kupiga show kwa maboys. Nasema, hey, maboys, ngujeni nakuja hapa. Alafu, one of the boys disappears with your girlfriend, with your new girlfriend. That's what happened at Bomas. That's what happened in Bomas. You know, these guys, they came with the beautiful document. They're saying they're going to launch it. And they want to show it on your face. Like, we are launching this document. And whether you like it or not, you're going to push it down your throat.
But my friend, one of my friends told me, brother, whether it wasn't launched, BBI was launched in my heart. So BBI is not just a document. BBI was not, you were waiting for a cake at the podium. It was launched in the BBI supporters' heart, and that is what matters. But yeah, you are right. The event of that day raised a lot of suspicion, and yeah, I've been pessimistic because, as I said before, I've learned as a coping mechanism to lower my expectation in Kenya, and so that I can have a good life if God is willing. There are people who read one event and think about it. I'm thinking at this point, because it is not important to just say what has happened without having an academic guess of what could happen, and I think that is what is important. I think that President Kenyatta is ready to go with Raila for the BBI and for the referendum. And whether it fails or succeed, he really does not care.
He'll wash his hands.
You know, they say if a real friend is the one who don't just come to bail you, but sit with you nest in the cell and say, man, that was dumb, but we are here. So he's going to go through with it for the sake of the friendship and in the name of not betraying. So he will go with it, but not to win as much, because I think he knows that it is going to face a lot of headwind. But in terms of, you know,
I tried. Like in an hospital, we tried. We are sorry, but we tried.
We did our best, but what do you do when you have done our best? As a Democrat, we are. We accept the results. Yeah.
All right. Bunge la mwenye nchi iko wazi. Bunge la mwenye nchi iko wazi 0779-800-010. Bunge la mwenye nchi iko wazi. Unaweza piga simu, unaweza kuchangia ile mjadala ambayo inaendelea hapa kwenye The Tackle. You can call in 0779-800-010 and contribute to the conversation that's going on The Tackle. Tuende kwa mambo ya kina Orengo. ODM has called for resignation of the DP if he's not going to support BBI. Lucia, that was the second video.
The people,
we played.
The people calling for the resignation of the DP should resign first. Now here is where I think I can define inclusivity as having everything in one basket. The political elite, they are inclusively the same, and we should put them in one basket. James Orengo should resign first before asking the DP to resign. I actually think the DP should resign, but then the president also should resign. The president at this point should just dissolve government and say, like, me and my entire administration are going back home because we have wronged you Kenyans, we have failed you people, we have mutilated your constitution. But then we know this will never happen. Our president does not have the moral standing and capacity to. He can never, ever, neither can any of our politicians. But for the pot to call the kettle black, it's laughable, James Orengo, very laughable.
The idea of resign, and you know, like you were saying, you know, I get suspicious because when DP is really pushed, is when he come and say, and I'm not foolish, I'm talking as the deputy president of this country. And I'm like, what? So am I supposed to now, you still have credibility, so you are still the deputy president. Because especially when you feel he has been pushed to the last age and it is alien to that government, he's telling you, I'm talking as the deputy president. Yes, I know what I'm saying. Because and that adds into the drama. The only thing missing in this thing is popcorn and big sodas, because it's a full dramatic experience. So he does that. And then on the other side, I think, as Ahmed Nazir said, and even Dee said it here, that he told former Prime Minister that as a political strategy, forget whether it's a sincere thing or not, but for your sake, as a political strategy, you might not go very well when you are talking of inclusivity and you think you'll use that to fight deputy president. It will not have legs, it cannot walk. It's the same what Ahmed Nazir was saying, that that was the interest of Raila. So it has backfired to a greater degree, that it has not worked, that you talk of bridge and then you deal with deputy president. At some point they thought president will ask him to resign. President have not asked him to resign. Instead, what we hear is him saying, "Has my boss complained to you?" Then out of the frustration, there was the talk of impeachment. So they have been like this beautiful lady who is not easy to seduce. One time they smile, another time they don't smile. So one time you are telling us you resign. The other time you're saying you are going to impeach him. So you can't do both. Resigning means him coming and calling press and saying I've resigned. Maybe you have very little control over that. Maybe what you have control over attempting is the impeaching. And when every time I feel this drama is now getting at the peak, oh my goodness, they're going to bring the impeachment, let's see. Then again it becomes anticlimax. Resign. So which one is which? Are you going to impeach him, or you are going to wait for him to resign? And you can see that there lies the frustration of ODM. Because this guy is not easy to push away, and is not pushable, and is not moving on the periphery. He's still at the center, but talking at the core, at the periphery. He's talking of wheelbarrow and inclusivity, but at the same time he's at the center and he's saying, I'm talking as deputy president. So then you have abandoned your opposition role. And you are not talking as the president. Remember one thing that the president said even then was, you know that Raila is not in the president, is in the government. Didn't he say that? And you know, that
and
is,
Raila in cases says I'm in government.
Yes, and I know what I'm saying. And I'm seeing all these cabinet secretary and PS reporting to him in Upper Hill. And so when the president, in this case, let's call him the brother, is saying that Raila is not in the government, that Ruto is the one on my side, and us as the government, allow me to be confused. Because which one is which? Is he in the government? Is he not? Is Ruto outside? Is he not? I mean, this is somebody who has become a very good player and can play a lot of multiple partners in this case. But what is converging is interest. I am thinking then before. No sooner did. Remember that English? No sooner did.
No sooner done.
Right. No sooner is this over that we host. And my parents work hard and my people work hard to host a delegation from Mount Kenya. And a sizable delegation. No sooner do we hear none other than the family spokesman saying Murathe and Nani, who went to Bondo, are fake.
The imposters.
Then we are saying maybe that is slip of tongue. No sooner do we go to launch our things in Bomas, the next day, no sooner do we see none other than the Kenyatta family spokesman in DP's compound saying, we heard you very well. Allow me to say this need a producer. We have a script here. What we are lacking is a producer to have a full movie.
And some popcorns. I got to get as a machari hapa zinaitwa kanjari ama kanjaro. Alright. Tuende tuangalie comments kidogo on the same issues alafu tukirudi tujue itakwaje. Masimu zetu tunasubiri pia, simu tunasubiri 0779-800-010 or 779-800-010 or 779-800-010. Jerodis Okongo anasema the only thing that this country needs is a fair IEBC so that the winner wins fairly and the loser loses fairly. This nonsense of having everyone on the table doesn't work on a democracy. Secondly, different parties have got different manifestos, and that's why falls in different and that is why falls in different parties, I believe. So you can't have the number 2 as a PM. Then he became the head of the government. Which government is that?
Who said that?
Yeah, that is a guy called Jerodis Okongo.
Okongo has seen manifestos in Kenya. governing us. I mean, you have seen manifestos governing any presidency.
I'm not even sure
or
if
any
we
government.
have manifestos.
It is things somebody produced within 2 minutes going to internet and
Nimesikia Sankok akisema ati ndio big 4 agenda iendelee. Where is the big 4 agenda? I'm not seeing anything that is in the big 4 agenda going on right now. It's just all this BBI nonsense. And by the way, you can't spell rubbish without BBI.
Haya. Tena. Yani lazima tumleteko tu unyambuliko ya vitenzi.
Just saying.
Alright. Kuna amesema ya kwamba we just need a fair election, a fair president who nominates people to position fairly after winning the election without being biased against others for not voting for him, and also to spread development across board. The number 2 can hang on and wait for another opportunity. David Kamo says, why does ODM insist Ruda should resign at all times? Brydon Ojanga anasema Ojwang said it as it is. Ojwang repeated to them again. Baba Usman sama county of greedy leaders and lures. Mwanasi anasema excellent Lucia, they have no ideology at all. Almost wananchi are either ignorant, complicit, partial, apathetic, or just don't care. Kima anasema Lucia yawa. Your political genealogy is very true. Karori wa Masi anasema this lady Lucia Ayiela, I have come to admire. Vincent Umasema, good morning Gerald Ayiela and Dr. Ojwang. Nice debate tuned in from Afghanistan. Asante sana. Mushai Wangasha anasema Sangok ni Kalulu kweli. Amechaka kibweli kwa sama on the side. On the president having prime minister from number 2. What kind of dreamland is Daktari living on? David Kawasema which one? Kipchuma anasema on the president having prime minister from number 2. What kind of dreamland is Daktari living on?
Mark some of these comments for disciplinary action.
Daktari is misleading. This is the point I wish I can debate him. Asbel Ratora anasema, if we want everyone to be in the table of winners, who will keep the winners, all the winners in check? Good question. Where is the opposition? David Kwaja, some of the idea is to have the systems working and it will not matter who is president. And that's why I decide we really to get to. I wish we get to a point where we don't care who's the president.
Yeah.
The good doctor is struggling to explain what BBI is all about. BBI is nonsense. I love Dr. Ojwang. I was glad to Dr. At the moment ulitetea magoa nilijua kuna shida. Ila za mwani jera Lucia Ayiela, Dr. Ojwang show is great, watching from Ruaka, great show. David Otsendo wanasema Lucia, these BBI shenanigans are not about the people's views, shaping the message by the elite. UMK and Rao message shaping the people's views. This is why your views and the views of the diaspora were not reflected. Progressive views will topple the apple cart. This is not what BBI masterminds want. They want to sell the same old wine in new wine skin. No vision agenda or ideas to transform Kenya. I really think when UK retires, Rao needs to retire with him. Kenya needs fresh leadership outside UK, Rao and USA. Asanteni sana. That is David Oleseni Monda. Asante. Students about the bridge to nowhere. That is Sami Hosh. Naona mwende tumesema share a bit later. Asante sana, at least tumeshare. Aaron katasema tram all the way to White House. Au ni mambo ya Amerika, tulishatoka pale mpaka tukaleta watu wa Amerika wakatuambia kunaendaje. Watu wa Tanzania pia mtatuambia mlifanyia nini Tundu. Pombe ilifanyia nini Tundu. Alright. We going to run into and to give you guys to give your final remarks because I think we are only 5 minutes to go.
Yeah.
Wacha tuwape wakati taanza na wewe Lucia. Utupe final remarks yako, kitupa pia tackle of the day.
Pombe ilijazwa kwa Tundu.
Why? Tundu ikalewa.
Msiambie wa Tanzania nilisema hivyo kai.
Tanzania atakukujia na Kiswahili bwana.
Nita apologize for the next 31 days. Tafadhalini, please do not. I want to change our perspective on the BBI, on whether it's legal, illegal, constitutional, unconstitutional, necessary or unnecessary. Is it going to be implemented? That's the question that we need to start asking ourselves as Kenyans. Whether it's good for us or it's not good for us. And we are being told it's good for us. And we know that politicians never implement anything that's good for us. So it's time to start thinking critically, to angalia beyond our noses. Let's think about, let's be selfish. Let's think about our interests. Let's stop thinking about the interests of the politicians. Think about your own self-interest and those of your neighbor, the person that you relate to very well on a daily basis, the person who will help you if you're sick. Those are the interests that you're supposed to be thinking about, because when you think about those interests, then you will definitely know the kind of changes that you want and the type of leader that you would want to bring those changes. But as it is right now, even if BBI was written in gold ink by the hand of the Lord himself, Kenyan politicians will not implement it.
They will never.
They will never. Never.
Your tackle of the day?
No, today I don't have a tackle. Today I just want to tell Kenyans to think.
At least you're smiling.
Yeah, I just want Kenyans to really critically think about, you know, you are as a PhD holder with an immense knowledge of economics. How did you allow your president to get you here? Ask yourself that question. As a doctor, as a very strong doctor, how did you allow the health sector to become the rubbish that it is? You know, in your different profession, think about what is ailing your profession and think of how and what got your profession to that point. And then think of how to get out of it.
All right. The good doctor.
I want to urge Kenyans to do the opposite of what fair lady Lucia have told them. Help your neighbor, but understand that your neighbor don't make serious life decisions. Do not ignore the politics. You'll be frustrated, but even as professional young people, do not ignore politics. It's Kwame who told us, seek ye first the political kingdom, and the rest will be given unto you. Even the constitution will be given unto you, isn't it? And that's what Rao realized. Seek handshake and even BBI and all that utajaziwa. I like the way Swahili says it. It is topped up. If he had a good idea without handshake or the political kingdom, he will not have done it. But because he sought fast, and every politician do that, so as Kenyans, we must also think the same way. You have seen those movie of think like a man and is trying to advise ladies. Think like ladies and how to know their thoughts and is trying to advise men. Know what ticks a politician. How do they think? So that you can use that to deal and to anchor your interest. Politicians think about their interest. And therefore, you also need to think about your interest. And not think for the politician. Let nobody say, you know, remember how some people said, I don't know, or me when... No, let the cows moo and chew cards, but let serious Kenyans read this document and think. And even as I say read, I am afraid because once you have read, you have no chance of amending. Nobody's interested in your thoughts. So why are you telling me to read, by the way?
No, but then why are you telling Kenyans to understand politicians?
Yeah,
they will never. It's like telling men to understand women. You will never.
But you can attempt, and others have attempted better in understanding ladies. So understand the politician. So the whole idea, it's like mocking people. You are telling people read fast, and you are saying, because I saw what Kimunya said on TV, there is no room for amendments. So then,
why are we reading?
Why am I reading in the first place? You know, there's some. Is it for entertainment?
No, to understand your oppression.
It's a suicidal note, so that you know at what point you're supposed to die. But I think that we need to build a country of laws. The idea of bringing people to the table that BBI, in my view, has failed is not a bad one. It's not a bad one. We are not dreaming. This country is steered by tribal interest. There was nothing wrong by saying, number 2, also be a prime minister. Then we can now have inclusivity. But telling me, you 48% go home, watch me, form shadow cabinet. Do you know why they call it shadow? Form shadow cabinet, watch. When I've stolen Kemsa money, you don't have power to investigate, you don't have power to prosecute, you don't have, apart from in parliament, you have PAC, you don't have power to do anything, but you be there correcting me as I eat. So you know, I like a thesis. As I mark thesis, you are not going to be the producer of that thesis. So if somebody brought to you a thesis, they have already articulated the statement problem. They have articulated the research question. And your work as an examiner is to examine whether their method and the results are supported and support the research question. So our job probably was not to tweak what was important. Even admitting that those 9 points that they gave, if that was what is important, then when we look at how they have delivered them, we are saying you have not delivered your own research because the recommendation you have is not articulating the problem. For example, you didn't raise a problem with judiciary, but in the results here, we are seeing a provision where you are now coming with the judiciary ombudsman, for example. So it is shooting from the hip. It is a political document, but again, final tackle, if that is the word. Of course, we are watching the U.S. election. How did they say it's supposed to be called Biden? Let's lower our hopes there. Trump might actually bounce back. It's possible. When it comes to Kenya, finally, let us understand that what constitution is a political document. It's a consensus. It's an elitist document from independent, whether it was the colonizers and the KANU and whatever. Constitution is where now the powers come and say, let us agree here, rather than everybody come with your troops, we fight, and we destroy the country. I think they have failed, and they have fallen into the common pattern of Africa, where you promise one thing, but deliver the other. They have promised inclusivity, but what they have delivered, as I said, it is a bridge, but you cannot find the pathway to that bridge, and all you see is 2 people standing in the bridge, and unless you are able to swim like me, you will drown trying to follow them into the bridge.
I can't swim, so I think I'll be a victim of the bridge. Anyway, there's something you mentioned about the interest of politicians and how they focus on their interest. I saw the Pendo parents speaking, and it was the worst form of mockery. And if you saw the father speaking, like he says, "Uru bana umetuachilia, tunateseka bana tukumpeke." You see, they were brought in for the political expediency to endorse the BBI document. But outside there, the government has not done anything for them. The Pendo family has been there since 2017. Nobody has ever gone there and helped them. I saw the mother was a bit empathic, you know, and she was playing to the script that it had given to her. But the father went off the script and says, "Umetusahau, tunateseka bwana, utukumbuke hii muda yote."
But you know, Bitok,
and something about politics.
It is sad.
Why
No, this is the part
they
I
had
cannot...
to go all the way to Kisumu to go get Baby Pendo's parents. Baby Moraz, the Mokayas are just here in Mathare, right here in Mathare. Mbona hawakuitwa?
The one who were killed by the police.
Yeah, the girl child who was shot by
the police.
yeah.
There
was another boy in Mathare killed. Alikuwa shule. That kid was in school doing what he was supposed to do. He was where he was supposed to be. The police shot that boy. Why weren't his parents called?
And you know, that this is the part. You know, I saw even during BBI, there was the whole choir of embrace. They went to Baby Pendo's family. They took photos with her. Never again. Why do you wait for the bridges and to do that? And it is really undignifying those people who have suffered. There was no basis. Up to now, remember, even as we have all these projects. You are building a stadium, you are building whatever, very, very funny projects in Kisumu. Nothing is done about Baby Pendo. But even so, you don't bring the parents unless what you have is authentic and can address them. So you become exploited twice. You are told to narrate that story over and over and relive it. Of course, it could be therapeutic for them, but it is sad to use the advantage. I also saw that with even Samba Kitonga, that somebody said, rest in peace, but we will continue with this BBI because this is where your heart was. And I feel that is cheap. Because even as Samba Kitonga died, remember the post we had about Samba Kitonga. Of course, he's a serious constitutional lawyer. But can we respect that process that if somebody has died, we don't try to lie on their behalf? So somebody have analogized that I've said when people are alive, we lie to them. When they die, we lie for them. And that is what I was seeing even about Baby Pendo, who was snatched by a bullet. And then you are seeing the reform that the police is now going back to the same hand of a minister and the politicians. And you are asking them to sit there and do the launch because... So politicians can be cruel, and that was cruel according to me. I don't know, but if I was Baby Pendo's parent, I would not have come. And because that is really trying to play with the real pain that I'm suffering. But they are a strong family. They have been interviewed a lot. They have spoken. And I think the picture that Kenyans should learn is to say again, never again. Never again. But I don't think this document says that. Final comment. Look at it.
But is it Kenyans who say never again? Because the police who killed the child. So is it Kenyans who say never again, or is the political class? Yeah, that's saying now it's the government. Now the government comes, kills your child, and then calls you again and come and tells you now, let's tell each other never again. Never again from what? The people who killed is the government.
Yeah, but that message of never again cuts across. So I might have threw a few stones at your car. How do you know?
No,
I'm
Gerald,
saying I will never throw that again.
No, when the people actually get to a place where they say never again, it means we are electing leaders who will be better, who will use the police force to serve us and not clobber us.
All right. But anyway, the same people who are telling you never enough and never again are the same people who are bludgeoning.
And that is the sad thing, because if somebody came with a work not worth reviewing for a panel, they will simply say, go do your research. But here is a case where you bring a research, you have used 10 billion, you want to again take it to BBI, to referendum with another 20 billion, and in the process, it's not just talking shop, you are spending real money that we could have used to either, even if it is reform. I don't think that, the constitution is perfect, but it could have been a real one.
Right.
But we are not going to have that chance. We are told to read and vote. So let's wait.
That's our business. Read and vote. Read and vote. Piga soma alafu kuja piga kura. Nimeona comments hapa as we leave. Kuna jamaa hapa anasema Saila Juma Salim Juma anasema imagine fighting Moi's imperialism and the same guys trying to sneak in the imperial presidency in through BBI. My problem is the same guys who fought for democracy are the same undermining it. Wow, that's very strong. Frank George anasema hello guys, good show, tuned in from Kangware, sitokangi mimi. Asante sana David Kamau. I understand that the delegates were conned their transport allowances. What were BBI pale Bomas? Emmanuel Kipsasema even BBI is written 1 million. Even if BBI is written 1 million times with the same deals in Kenya, at the moment we are going nowhere. Emmanuel someone saying Biden sir, no Trump dude, only 6 days and you will tell me let's bet 200,000 Kenyan shillings. Hey, Daktari, are you ready to auction your kidney for America?
Right.
Kipi Charles anasema Biden will win the polls. Put in my head, the polls corrected the margin for the era and made Trump win last time. Let's look at the polls ambazo tulikuwa nayo leo. Poll ya kwanza ilikuwa nasema BBI referendum to cost you 14 billion. Can you afford it? 92% wanasema they cannot afford it and 8% say they can afford it. Kuna pia poll ya pili ilikuwa do you think Raila Odinga is being played by Ruto? Yes, 80%. No, 20%. Do you think Raila
saying he's being played?
Do you think Raila Odinga is being played by Ruto?
Yeah.
Yes, 80%. No, 20%. And the last poll, should the DP resign? Yes, 4%. No, 96%. All right, those are people ambao wamesema hiyo ni sauti yao Kenya. Thank you so much guys, it's always a pleasure to have you. Kesho tunarudi na katiba sheria wiki hii na tunaendelea kuangazia mambo ya BBI na yale mabadiliko ambayo yanazimiwa kufanya kwenye katiba, the changes that are being done on the BBI report. Kesho tuko na ile panel yetu ya mawakili kwanza kuangalia mambo ya BBI na sheria. Tunaita sheria wiki hii. Jumatatu tuko na jamaa anaitwa Joanna Ngeno, mbunge wa Emuru Dikir, anakuja kushoot from the shot, shooting the shots. Siku ya Jumanne pia on Tuesday. Jumanne ndio Tuesday ama Jumatano ndio. Jumanne on Tuesday, Jumanne tuko na Milio Diambo. Mnaite the chief ekla, lakini yeye amesema yeye si ekla. Amesema they come and deal with you. Mili Diambo Mabona ataweza kuja siku ya Tuesday. Jumatatu ni Emuru Dikir MP, that is Joanna Ngeno. Alafu siku ya Tuesday ni Milio Diambo. Tutakuwa pia kwa lineup, tutapea lineup pia ya Jumatano, that is Wednesday going forward. Thank you guys, it was always a pleasure to have you. You can still share the broadcast. Na pale YouTube pia, kimbia pale YouTube, tutafuta pale YouTube, tazama our programs bila kukata, ili tuweze kusongesha pale pia. Kuna watu wa diaspora ambao wamekuwa kilia kwamba YouTube. We've given you YouTube channel. After the show, we are going to upload all the broadcasts that we have. Tukimalizanga 30 minutes, tayari broadcast ya siku iko pale juu ili uweze kutazama. Asante sana kwa kuweza kujumuika na sisi. It was a pleasure to have you. Na muache kulala, mambo ya sharing, tafadhali muendelee kushare. Thank you so much. This is a tackle. And the tackle ends at our time. The tackle ends now. I see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye. Take care.
Bye.